From street corners to standing ovations, this is the untamed rise of Mike Epps. Before the flashing lights, blockbuster films, and sold-out arenas, there was just a kid from Indianapolis with a sharp tongue and a wild sense of humor. Michael Elliott Epps was born into the grit of the streets on November 18, 1970, where laughter wasn't just entertainment, it was survival. But the road to comedy royalty was anything but funny. Performing in smoky backroom clubs, getting ignored by casting directors, and grinding night after night, Mike's journey was filled with rejection, hardship, and hustle. And yet, through every setback, his raw talent and fearless honesty refused to be ignored. What happened next? Hollywood couldn't look away. After grinding in the shadows for years, Mike Epps' hustle finally paid off when he moved to Atlanta and began sharpening his comedic edge. But it was Brooklyn and a breakout appearance on Def Comedy Jam in 1994 that lit the spark. Raw, electric, and unapologetically wild, Mike's style hit different. His voice couldn't be ignored anymore. In a world full of polished punchlines, he brought something real, and Hollywood took notice. His rise from underground comic to household name was solidified when he stepped into the role of Day Day in Next Friday and its sequel, Friday After Next. Instantly, he became a fan favorite, funny, unpredictable, and deeply relatable. But Mike Epps wasn't just about laughs. From voicing animated characters in Open Season to stealing scenes in Resident Evil films and co-creating hit sitcoms like The Upshaws, he showed he was more than a comedian, he was a creative force. And with his own record label, he proved that Mike Epps doesn't just play by the rules, he rewrites them. This is the startling part though. Mike's path wasn't just filled with fun and accomplishment. There was an endless stream of drama and controversy behind the scenes. His humor frequently caused controversy because it breached boundaries that many people believe should never be crossed. Many people were offended by his remarks regarding impairments, particularly parents and campaigners who thought he was cruel and inconsiderate. There was a strong backlash. Disability activists publicly criticized him, and social media was ablaze with criticism. Nevertheless, Mike persisted in his humorous approach, which only served to intensify the debate. The drama with Mike Epps was as thick as the laughter. I can assure you, what is unique about this story? Mike wasn't content with jokes. He became interested in real-life issues that garnered media attention. He got into a physical altercation with fellow comic LeVar Walker, which was one of the most bizarre incidents. LeVar's humorous video ridiculing Mike and fellow comic Kevin Hart was the catalyst for the incident. Mike and his bodyguards allegedly jumped LeVar instead of laughing it off, which prompted the police to intervene and issue an arrest warrant. You wouldn't think a comic would get into this much difficulty over a joke. However, destiny took a surprising turn here. However, Mike's life was filled with unexpected turns like these. During one of his stand-up performances, Mike surprised everyone one more by bringing a live kangaroo onto the stage, just when they thought they had seen it all. A real kangaroo indeed. Videos of the concert went viral, leaving both the audience and the internet in a state of shock. This is the startling part though. The kangaroo appeared to be in a lot of discomfort and anguish. People were incensed and wanted to know why Mike believed it was acceptable to subject an animal to such upheaval for the purpose of making a joke. Mike had to issue an apology after the swift outcry, claiming that the incident was unplanned and that he had no intention of hurting the animal. But a lot of viewers weren't persuaded, and the episode further muddied his already complex public persona. Mike Epps had a turbulent existence filled with ups and downs, scandal and success. With every new incident that is more unexpected than the last, his story continues to take unexpected turns. This is where things start to become intriguing, even though you thought you knew him from the comedies and movies. For all the wrong reasons, the man who made millions laugh also made headlines. This was only the beginning of his difficult path. This is where the story truly starts to change though. Mike Epps was more than just an actor and comedian. Many were startled to learn that he was also a businessman with a side gig in music. He established Naptown Records in his birthplace of Indianapolis back in 2006. This endeavor was more than a side project. Filthy Phil, a local artist who had just been freed from jail on heavy drug charges, was signed by him. According to reports, the agreement was worth $175,000, which is significant for a new label. However, a year later, Filthy Phil was charged with first-degree murder in Oakland, which caused destiny to take an unforeseen turn. This swiftly turned into a major scandal that compelled Mike to sever his relationship with the artist. You won't believe how quickly a potential business decision turned into a nightmare. This is how Mike's life as a musician became embroiled in controversy. Mike continued to move forward in spite of everything. He didn't want to be recognized only as an actor or comic. He aimed to demonstrate his versatility as an artist. He released a comedy CD in 2009 that had both real music and stand-up segments. He worked with well-known artists like Hurricane Chris, Eminem, and French Montana. He wasn't playing around, as seen by his tunes like Big Girls I Like and Trying to Be Gangster. He further integrated himself into the hip-hop scene by appearing in music videos. The most absurd aspect, though, is that Mike was able to use his connections to get into many facets of the entertainment business. From contemporary trap musicians to vintage hip-hop, he seemed to have a covert tie to every aspect of the music industry, and others began to question whether Mike Epps was a hidden hip-hop force or just a comedian. However, let me tell you that Mike's strategy did not sit well with everyone. He had a history of getting into trouble for his edgy comedy, and this time was no exception. He was criticized for making insensitive comments about individuals with impairments. Mike's jokes, according to parents and disability groups, went too far in making fun of kids who have mental and physical disabilities. There was a lot of criticism, which led to contentious discussions on social media and elsewhere. This is the startling part, though. Mike declined to express regret or soften his comedic tone. Rather, he upheld his authority to push limits, which further stoked the debate. After all the criticism, you would think that Mike would take a different tack, but he seemed intent on continuing to stir things up. Then there was another drama in real life. In 2014, Mike Epps and fellow comic LeVar Walker got into a public altercation. LeVar prepared a humorous video mocking Mike and Kevin Hart to start things off. However, Mike went too far rather than laughing it off. Mike and his bodyguards reportedly violently assaulted LeVar by kicking and punching him. Mike was the subject of an arrest warrant barely 2 days after the altercation became so bad that the police became involved. This is when things start to get interesting. Jokes would normally make most comedians chuckle, but Mike's response revealed another side to him. What was unique about this story? In addition to the actual fight, it was the speed with which the altercation turned from a lighthearted jest to a highly publicized court matter. Mike performed one of the most ridiculous acts in comedy history. Just when you thought the drama couldn't get much stranger, he brought a kangaroo onto the stage during a live performance. A real kangaroo, indeed. The audience was taken aback, but it was animal lovers who witnessed the poor animal's unhappy and uneasy appearance that truly outraged them. On social media, videos of the incident went viral and provoked a fierce outcry. People wanted answers. Why did Mike believe that causing such stress to a wild animal just for the sake of amusement was acceptable? He expressed regret, claiming that it was spontaneous and that he had no intention of hurting the kangaroo. Let me tell you though, a lot of people didn't buy it. Mike's already complex public persona was further tainted by the occurrence. This is only the beginning of the story. New conflicts and disclosures kept the audience interested as Mike's life continued to take unexpected turns. Are you prepared to learn the next event? Now hold on tight because nobody anticipated what occurred next. Mike Epps shocked his fans with a surprising disclosure in an appearance on the All the Smoke podcast at the beginning of 2024. He acknowledged that he hadn't always shown ladies the respect they were due. This wasn't simply a casual remark. I assure you, Mike talked candidly about selling women dreams he couldn't fulfill, lying to them, and getting them pregnant. "I'm going to make this right before I die," he declared. "I'd like to know how to treat women completely correctly." This is where things start to get interesting, since Mike was now being open about his shortcomings after years of jokes and controversy. This is the startling part, though. His admission did not elicit pity. There was a tremendous outcry. Both critics and admirers weren't prepared to provide forgiveness. People began disparaging him on social media very fast, raising concerns about his personality and his treatment of his wife, Kira Robinson. Kira isn't just anybody anymore. They were married in 2019 and she works as a producer at Owen. Mike had to publicly apologize to Kira twice as a result of the pressure from the public. The internet didn't hold back. And to be honest, it's difficult to reverse that type of harm once the general public becomes engaged. This dispute revealed a distinct aspect of celebrity: the unpleasant fact that private errors can quickly turn into public crises. The drama didn't end there, though. In addition, Mike Epps was embroiled in yet another raging celebrity quarrel. This time, it was with Shannon Sharpe, a former NFL player and sports analyst. During one of his stand-up performances, Mike made some offensive remarks regarding Shannon's sexual orientation. You won't believe how much heat this generated. It wasn't something Shannon Sharpe took lightly. He accused Mike of lying about their previous interactions in public, even threatening to make his private texts public to support his claims. Fans were riveted to every word as the back and forth became emotional and personal. The most absurd aspect was that both guys decided to have a meeting to try to work out their differences. However, no one was certain whether peace would truly materialize or if this was only the beginning of a protracted tale. Despite all of this turmoil, Mike Epps' career continued to advance. He continued to tour, entertaining audiences in places like Cleveland and Washington, D.C., in spite of the scandals. He even landed some fascinating new assignments, and his comedy was as sharp as ever. Mike co-starred with Natalie Portman in an Apple TV miniseries and starred in the Netflix sensation The Upshaws. As if that weren't enough, he showcased his abilities as an actor and writer by co-writing a brand new film called Ready to Sell Out. Yeah, I've had my share of drama, but I'm still here and I'm just getting started, Mike seemed to be saying. People started to wonder what Mike Epps might do next. Will the scandals continue to mount, or is he prepared to move on? In actuality, Mike's narrative is far from finished, and if history tells us anything, it's that you never know what's going to happen with Mike. Well, you're hooked by that story, aren't you? Okay, let's get started on the last part of Mike Epps' life, which is quite the roller coaster. You won't believe it, but Mike's career reached a new peak despite all the turbulence. No longer was he only riding the comedic wave. In Hollywood, he was taking things seriously. Fans were excited about his next ventures, particularly his new film, Ready to Sell Out, in which he co-wrote the screenplay in addition to starring. This revealed an unexpected aspect of Mike, a diligent creative force in the background. This is the startling part though. Mike was able to maintain some stability in his personal life in spite of all the ups and downs. Being married to Kira Robinson, and a devoted father to his children from both marriages, he is a proud family man. Nevertheless, he seemed to be followed everywhere despite all of this commotion. The headlines continued because of the kangaroo incident, his past transgressions, and his feud with Shannon Sharpe. What is unique about this story? That's how Mike managed everything. He never gave up. Mike's attitude was evident whether he was dealing with criticism from the public or defending himself in conflicts. He's not going anywhere quietly. He's here to entertain. However, this is where destiny took a surprising turn. Mike Epps has started to turn his attention to growth and atonement. He freely discussed in interviews how he had learned from his mistakes in the past, particularly with regard to treating women in his family with respect. This candor revealed a different microphone, one attempting to mature and change. Beyond the jokes and headlines, fans began to see a more human side of the comic. His past was not erased by this change, but it did add depth to his tale. The most bizarre aspect is that Mike Epps' life seems to be an endless drama, comedy, and surprise show. Unquestionable brilliance, passionate confessions, and outrageous controversies all abound in his journey. He has demonstrated on Hollywood sets and stand-up stages that he always emerges stronger from adversity. So don't assume that Mike Epps is just another comedian. This man's story is always changing, and we're eager to see what the upcoming episode will bring.